of two events that we decided to organize for our Ukrainian colleague. Today's is co-organized by the NETS Research Work Group and Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf. The title is Spotlight on Film Festivals in Ukraine Today, Accounts, Responses, Calls to Action. And the event will be moderated by our two long-time colleagues, Skadi Lois and Marieke de Valk. And let me now both of them. So Skadi Lois is assistant professor for production cultures in audiovisual media industries at the Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf in Potsdam, Germany. Her research focuses on film festivals and circulation, queer film culture, and screen industries, diversity and sustainability. Professor Marieke de Valk is Associate Professor in Film and Media Studies in the Department of Media and Culture at Utrecht University. She specializes in transnational media cultures, media industries, and art cinema. And together they founded the Film Festival Research Network already in 2008, which connects more than 600 researchers and practitioners, in the field. And they co-funded one of the oldest NETS work group that focuses on film festival research. And today we have several guests. They will be introduced by Skadi and Marieke. And let me just briefly inform you that event is recorded and it will be also screened. I am not sure which on which side, but it will be. And today also there will be we will be helped by Brett Lameris and Michał Babizorzyna, and they will take care of technical issues. And one more thing, if you have any questions, those of you who participate in Zoom event, if you have any questions, please put them in chat. And also please follow chat because we decided that it will be the easiest to just coordinate all the questions and issues on that. So please, Skrike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elżbieta, for introducing this event, which is already the second in a series looking at the colleagues in the Ukraine. So welcome to the second edition where we look at the film festivals. And I want to start with a little story it came about. So when we first heard about the terrible invasion, I personally was sick in bed with COVID after the Berlinale and was quite in shock about it. A week or so later, Michal had already started to organize an event with the colleagues at the Lviv Center for Urban History, which I found really, well, how to say, touching and also super informative and really helpful in terms of connecting to colleagues about their work and not just about them being victims of a war. So I found that super important and was starting to think about what we could do from the festival world and how to get in touch. Then a few days later, I had an email kind of randomly in a big Boranchuk, who I had met a few years earlier at the Prague Queer Film Festival in Mezipatra, talking about a call for action. And then a couple of days later, also by pretty much pure coincidence, going out for dinner basically in Berlin, meeting with friends, it happened to be the same day that Anastasia arrived in Berlin at the place, find an apartment for a while with those friends. And I said, well, you know, when you're settled, I heard she's also working with film, like get in touch. And she did. And so we talked about it, and she said, well, she's also actually working with film festivals. And that's how it all fell into place, because as we realize, it's a really small world, right? Like the festival makers know, you know, you can travel around the world, visiting festivals, make friends around the world. And so that's kind of how it started, and trying to set up an event with Anastasia. We discussed, and she then really helped and said, well, you know, we should have these people and try to organize something so that we get an idea about the whole country, basically. But maybe you want to say a bit more why you chose these and connected us to these colleagues a bit.
Sure. Here we can find speakers from five Ukrainian film festivals. I'm glad here to welcome Anna Machuch. She is the executive director of Ukrainian Film Academy and co-founder of the Academy, and also executive director from Odessa International Film Festival. This is one of the biggest film festivals in Ukraine. Every year it probably gathered all most important Ukrainian filmmakers and lots of foreign filmmakers and some stars from film industry. Also here is Bogdan Zhuk. He's a programmer of MODIS International Film Festivals. This is not only the oldest film festival in Ukraine, but one of the oldest in Europe. Last year, it was the 5th edition of the festival, and this festival specialized on debut films. And I was happy to also be a part of this festival for, I don't remember, for some years. Yeah, I worked on MODIS Film Festival. Also, here is Evgenia Krigsheim from she's the founder of Kharkiv Middox International Film Festival. This is a documentary and feature film festival, which happens in Kharkiv. Last year, it was the 5th edition, and I'm also a part of this festival. And after I choose this. Also, here is Victoria Leshchenko. Victoria probably was the first person I thought about when this your idea came in. She is a program director of DocuDays. You are the International Documentary Film Festival, probably the biggest documentary film festival in Ukraine. It has a competition. It has a film industry department. And after I gathered these 4 speakers, Evgenia Krigsheim suggested that we should invite representatives from film festivals from Western Ukraine, and she suggested to invite Olga Reiter, who from Wizard Lviv International Film Festival. As I know, this is the biggest film festival in Western Ukraine, so which also has a competition and film industry department. So here are our speakers.
Welcome, and thank you for being here with us. Before we get into it, maybe another acknowledgement. First of all, thank you very much to NEX for hosting this technically, but also helping financially, as well as the Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf. So you have an idea about how we think about doing this. So we thought we have about an hour to do a conversation with our 5 guests about their festivals, and basically 3 main sections following the subtitle of the event. So starting with the accounts, what's going on, responses, what is currently happening with the festivals, and later the calls to action. We already mentioned, if you have questions during the conversation that you already want to post, please post it in the Zoom chat for us, and so that they're not getting lost. We hope to have time later for a bit more of an open floor conversation with everybody. So I guess the start. Mareike, do you want to start with the first round?
Yes, thank you. I specifically also wanted to say to everybody, please indeed post your messages in the chat. I will be keeping an eye out on that. If you have a question for one of the speakers specifically, please mention the name so that that is clear. Yes. So should we dive right in then? We would very much like to start with the basic question of what is going on right now for the different festivals that our speakers are affiliated to. So may I pass the mic firstly to Victoria.
Oh, yeah, hello. So, hello, sorry, could you please just, rephrase the question, because I missed a bit.
Okay. Sorry.
I was listening really, but I don't know something.
We were just really would like to hear from you what the current situation is for the for your festival, the
Sorry, well, as you know, maybe like DocuDays actually was cancelled this year, like post, as we like to say. Festival dates were supposed to be, it's the end of basically the last week of March. That was March 25, April 3. And before the war, we were actually in the active phase of preparations to the festival. So we already closed the program. We're already like negotiating with distributors and everything. And I clearly remember that on February 23, that was one day before the war, we have actually a team planning, and we were planning some things, we were discussing, because it was already obvious that something is going to happen, but honestly saying, till the very last moment, nobody believed. So we were planning the festival, we were kind of start planning, thinking about plan B, but actually we didn't have that. And I remember that when we were on Zoom, my dear colleague Daria said, well, I got a message from one of our Ukrainian filmmakers. He's on the east of Ukraine, and he's saying that then tomorrow, you should just leave Kyiv, because tomorrow the war will start. And we were kind of laughing, But the very next day, this happened. Obviously, we were unprepared, and we didn't manage to relocate our team because we actually didn't plan that. And it took some weeks, for our team to basically to relocate ourselves or whatever. And the biggest part of our team is still in Ukraine, mostly in western part of Ukraine. Some of us relocated abroad, like I'm now in Berlin, and there are a few people I know also moved to. So anyway, we're still working and continuing our work, because 2 years of lockdown, taught us in a way how to operate under strange circumstances, and circumstances when you cannot, you know, be like physical in one office, whatever. And yeah, at the moment we are continuing working on projects like we post festival. Basically, we had three vectors, basically three directions where we had it. The first one is cultural diplomacy. We are working with actually making Ukrainian voice visible abroad as international film festivals, and we are actually also contributing to the campaign of banning Russian culture, and at least explaining why it's important to pose Russian culture a bit. And the second thing is, of course, we support industry, Ukrainian filmmakers. We launched initiative Doku Help Fund, and gathering money for Ukrainian filmmakers and providing them with, you know, very basic grants, like survival grants, basically for equipment or anything like that. And the third thing, we are now developing the project. We are going to create online platform, or basically online professional closed online library, which will be a collection of videos, improvement of crimes. So this will be videos sent by different people, by journalists. We're going to do a kind of selection work, and then, you know, structure everything and gather everything at one place. And ideally, it will be a place for professionals to find, you know, any content they need for any day, any words, like any day of the war. So like that's like briefly, as a long story short, that's now where we are basically.
Thank you. Great. You're already telling us so much about the things, how you're handling the current situation. Let's continue with the inventory of what the situation for the different festivals in the different parts of the country is. Yevgenia, could you tell us about your festival?
Thank you, Marijke. So I'm usually saying hello, I'm Yevgenia Kriegsheim, a producer based in Berlin and Kiev, between Berlin and Kiev, but now unfortunately only in Berlin. And my hometown is Kharkiv. That's why I founded this, at first time it was a Dokumentar Film Festival. It was launched in 2017 in Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, with the support of the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And in 5 years, our festival has become a significant event in Eastern Ukraine. We have already have the various formats and scales of the festival. And in 2020, for example, due to the red quarantine COVID zone in the region, we had completely from a stationary offline format to a full online in only 1 week. It was a challenge, but we managed it. The hardest thing was to persuade the filmmakers to agree giving us their films for showing on the web platform. And security guarantees are usually services which are used by, for example, like streaming, international streaming platforms. Last year, in order to be able to reach the audience not only in the east of Ukraine, but also in other regions, we had held a festival in hybrid format for the first time. Also, for the first time in the history of the festival, we launched an international competition, Ukraine of the world, where foreign directors presented their films they shot in Ukraine or about Ukraine. every year there were fewer and fewer films about the war in our program. Many don't know, but the last 2 years, hostilities on the occupied territories began to be sporadic. All the forces of the country were thrown into a peaceful settlement to end the war, which began Russian aggression. All the forces of festival were focused on the voice of these regions, on the unification of the once torn apart Ukrainian lands. I want to believe that our contribution to the development of the cultural diplomatic mission in these regions has consequences also today. Even though our festival runs always in autumn, I think this year, unfortunately, all of us have to go back to online format. And that's maybe good. We can cover not only Ukrainians in Ukraine, and we have something to talk about and something to say.
Thank you so much. Let's continue with the first round. Anna.
Yes, hello. I'm Anna Machov from Odessa International Film Festival. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for support and thank you for invitation. So we had the same situation as Vika said. We have festival, used to have festival in July in Odessa. We were preparing and nobody believes that full-scale invasion is possible. So from my team is almost in Kiev. I'm also in Kiev. And from the first days of the full-scale invasion, we started to defend on the information front. We threw all our efforts into influencing the situation and preventing Russia from spreading propaganda, because, you know, it's the second front. It's also weapon, and so we, from the second day of the war, we started to boycott company of the Russian cinema. Because when other countries impose economic, political sanctions against Russia, they continue its active work in the cultural field. My colleagues all know the situation, and the result of these activities, it's not only spreading the propaganda messages, it also contributes on increasing among the population of these countries loyalty to the Russian culture. So we call on the global film community to refuse cooperation with Russian cinema. And our position has already been supported by the big amount, a lot of different film organizations. And the first one was European Film Academy. Also some academies from Poland, Spain, and others, a lot of others, also film production companies, Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, some associations like European Producers Club, UK Producers Body Pact, and also, you know, Netflix and some others. And also we are helping to our colleagues in Ukraine with the equipment, with some aid. Our partners, our friends from Poland and from other countries are helping us with this. And a week ago, we organized, we launched the film marathon for helping our filmmakers. It's film screenings around the world in support of Ukraine. And it's a common initiative of Ukrainian Film State Agency and some others Ukrainian organizations. We called it Cinema Aid Ukraine, and already started screenings in Canada, Turkey, and Poland. And we have a big list of the countries where we will continue our screenings. So such a situation for our festival and our activities now.
Great, thank you very much. Bohdan, would you like to continue telling us about the Molodist Festival?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So Molodist, our 51st edition was supposed to take place on the 28th of May, 5th of June, and naturally it's impossible at the moment. So we have announced officially that we have postponed the festival indefinitely because we are confident that Ukraine will win, and we have hopes that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And we are, of course, not clear how the situation is going to develop, and but yes, we are still hoping that we will be able to organize the festival this year. It will have to be from scratch because anything that we have worked on is, you know, kind of canceled basically. But so currently we are working. The only thing we can do is, in terms of organizing the festival, I mean, is programming. So we are working on the program, but of course we are, like our colleagues working in the information front, in the cultural front, we are involved with the cultural diplomacy. We have called on our international colleagues to boycott Russian cinema. We have also stated that because we have received numerous requests on about curating film program of Ukrainian film programs for other festivals or institutions, and we have stated that we will be cooperating with them only on the condition that there won't be any Russian films in their programs. So we are also sharing the information, connecting people, because there is a lot, of course, there is a lot of solidarity among our foreign colleagues, and they are trying to help. And so we connect, we engage them, we support with the funding, and we are, each of us is volunteering in one way or another, working, you know, working together for our common goal of the victory. And in terms of our team, some of us have stayed in Kyiv, some of us are in other places in Ukraine, like I am in my hometown in Western Ukraine, and I'm in the darkness because there's a curfew and we don't turn on the light in the evenings because of, you know, possibility of air raids. And so all the cities and towns and villages are dark at night, completely dark. And one of our colleagues is in Eastern Ukraine. She's a filmmaker as well, Alisa Kovalenko. She's programming our documentary competition, and yeah, some of our colleagues are abroad as well, and we are working on different events abroad as well. Yeah, that's, in short, that's it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. In a bit, I would really also like to ask everybody how that how you are at the moment collaborating amongst the Ukrainian colleagues, both those who are still in the Ukraine and currently elsewhere. But first, I'd like to hear from the fifth speaker, Olha, what the current situation for you is.
Hello, everybody. I'll try to be short, so we go on with the next question. Lviv is considered to be a relatively safe place now. We have fire, we have bomb alarms, couple of sometimes at night. But as you may know, many people from Eastern and Central Ukraine moved to Lviv. The population of city grew 4 times. So we had around 800 people in the city, and now we have more than 1 million only registered. Our festival was founded in 2008. I think it's the oldest short film festival in Ukraine, but we are not like huge. That's our specific feature. So we have big audience. But like we planned to have the festival in October. Now we didn't cancel it. The times of quarantine learned us to to have festivals online, and I would like you to show the online cinema that we created especially for this purpose. Maybe our admin can show you this. It's Big Short Com.ua. Now we are screening 4 programs of Ukrainian short films there. And if you buy the ticket, we will donate all the money to Voices of Children Foundation. You know that a lot of Ukrainian children are victims in this war. So this fund is the trusted fund, and it was with those victims. So I highly ask you to maybe watch, share this link within your communities, and combine pleasure of watching films and donating some money to Trustworthy Fund. Besides that, our program team is working on some curation programs. We are still for the next edition, maybe in bomb shelters, maybe only online, but we hope to have at least some events. And our team is partly abroad, partly still in Lviv. I'm abroad personally. And 3 of our male team members joined Ukrainian army forces. Our press coordinator live, and he's defending Mykolaiv. It's south of Ukraine now. So it's very personal to all of us. And in 2014, we had the festival after the war started, because it's an old war, now it's full-scale war, and our slogan was stronger than weapon. And we truly believe that culture is stronger than weapon. But now it seems that this slogan is not truth anymore, because what we need now is a lot of weapon, and of course we need to go on with the culture at the same time. So maybe our slogan could be culture and weapon. I don't know, just a joke. So yeah, let's go on. Big Short Com.ua. I will send it to chat.
Yes, should we? It's great to hear about all the things that you continue to do, all the different activities, and there are similarities between the festivals, some that are postponing events, or of course were forced to postpone because of the timing with the festival calendar. Perhaps you could comment a bit more on how you are collaborating at this moment amongst the different film festivals. And that's an open question to all of the speakers. Are you in frequent touch with each other, or is it, or are you, also mainly focusing on your own organization?
Can I answer? Yeah, I didn't say about our plans regarding Odessa International Film Festival because it's in July. I still don't have an answer if we will be able to hold festival alive in July in Odessa, because it totally depends on the results of our army. But we have plan B, we have plan C, and also plan D. Plan B, yes, it's to have festival online. Personally, me, I hate online events really, because 2020 during COVID first wave of the COVID, all our life was online, and also we had our festival online. Last year we were lucky, we held a live festival in Odessa. So, but this plan B is always with us while COVID is still actual, and now it's actual for us. Especially, and also we have a plan B to postpone our festival to maybe September or October. And also regarding your question, we have also plan D because we've got a lot of offers from our partners from European film festivals to hold some programs on their venues or some screenings. So we appreciate its support, its help. And so it's maybe possible that we will have such a mixed format of the festival and very international, because in screenings will be now, as for now, in few different countries, and also with some online and live formats where it will be possible in Ukraine. Thank you.
Olha, do you maybe want to, I heard that you're also going to be later this week in Dresden, as will I. Do you want to, is that true? You're having a program there, right?
Yes, I have program. I will present program of Ukrainian short films there. The entrance is free, and it's only on the festival website because they didn't expect that the war will begin, and it was the last couple of weeks we negotiated about that. So I invite you who will be there. It starts at 8 p.m. at I forgot the name of the cinema anyway. The question was about how do we communicate with Ukrainian film community. I think now film community is part of a cultural community, and we are really united now. Of course, there are some exclusions, but I think right after the war began, some messenger chats groups were created, and people started actively proposing some manifests and some cooperation. So this is not new to us, and I think we've been preparing to work in online for a couple of years before. And I think it's important to stay together as a community. I also know, and I think Victoria knows, that there is a possibility for Ukrainian, because we are alumni of SOFA, School of Film Agents, used to be, and there is a possibility for Ukrainian filmmakers, not filmmakers, but film managers to join their workshop in May, but it will be held online. So yeah, that's it for me regarding this question.
Can continue maybe that I guess we are in touch, all the Ukrainian film industry, we are in touch and we are connected and we are sharing information and opportunities and everything. But our efforts, well, I have the impression, at least, I can't say for sure, but our efforts are focused on the exterior because we've seen that our soft power, our cultural diplomacy takes time, and now we have to push harder. And so we are working with our foreign colleagues and pushing for more attention to Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian film in particular. And we are working to oppose the Russian propaganda and yeah, just in short.
Yeah, could you give some examples of how you are doing that?
Well, for instance, we have made a statement about the boycott of Russian cinema, which so we the Ukrainian Film Academy, like our other colleagues, and I think the majority, at least, if not all, of the Ukrainian film industry has called for the boycott of Russian cinema, because we have been quite disappointed, to be honest, in some of the reactions of our colleagues at other biggest international film festivals, especially the bigger ones. So we understand that we need to explain that this is not like we are not barbarians and we are against the freedom of speech or anything, or freedom of expression, but that this is a forced measure that has to take place because we believe that Russia has to be completely isolated for a long time until we see not only the withdrawal of its troops from Ukraine and the compensation of all the damage and the trial in international tribunals, but also structural changes in the policies of that country. So we have to explain why this has to happen, because we understand that the world is very much under the influence of the great Russian culture, and it's hard for many people to accept that there can be a boycott in some way. Although, of course, yes, we have pushed for different institutions to cancel cooperations with Russia. And like I said before, we have received requests for cooperations for curating Ukrainian film programs for other festivals. And we told them that this can only happen if there are no Russian films in their programs, in their selection, because neither we nor the filmmakers that we intend to support and promote will find it acceptable to be the representation of the culture of the aggressor, whose aim is to erase us and to erase our culture. So it's quite simple, and I'm glad to say that there is quite a lot of understanding among our foreign colleagues, and several festivals have already agreed to that.
Like, since we are at the topic of how you collaborate, and we've heard a few examples of collaboration outside, right? That having collaborations with international festivals, which sounds like you promoting Ukrainian film mostly. I would like to ask you to flip it the other way around. Like, are you also thinking about doing something for the audiences who are still in Ukraine? Is there you can do, you are doing at the moment?
Maybe I can contribute in answering to this question. Actually, it's like my personal opinion. I don't know, I mean, maybe my colleagues will say some disagree with that, but like for our team, it's like became really obvious that at this very sad and tragic moment for our country, film festival is not something people really looking for. I mean, I personally had this experience of being like in Kyiv for 1 week now, literally been paralyzed, like and wasn't able to work just at all. And people like in Kyiv and other cities, they are now mostly looking for kind of, you know, humanitarian help, for food, I don't know, for basic stuff. So I think now, like Berlin, now I am kind of understand this is a really huge privilege to attend, you know, film screening or to attend film festival, to have film festival. It's a huge privilege. I never saw it this way because it was mostly like it was my life in Ukraine. And now mostly a lot of filmmakers, you know, Ukrainian filmmakers, they don't they are not working for their movies. They became volunteers, they just, helping people, transferring them from Kyiv to Lviv, or transferring some humanitarian stuff. And this is our like a brand new world, brand new reality, where that's also connected to the fact why we think important to share our ideas about to share our situation at the international film festivals, to speak for Ukrainian film community, because lots of people from this community just now, they don't have this possibility to speak publicly at the festival for themselves. And this is a huge problem, because what we also always mention, that while you are given a space for Russian filmmakers and for Russian films, this is perfect, of course, but I mean, very often, so it's just not the same situation, because even for Russian filmmakers who are kind of, in exile, or who are kind of in opposition, they are still, it's very easy for them. No, they come to festivals, screen their films, but Ukrainian filmmakers can't do so. They can't, they can't comment on that, on the whole situation. So that's why, of course, that's why we still contribute to cultural diplomacy. But as for our festival, we see, unfortunately, no sense in doing film screenings at the moment in Ukraine. And we rather create, this some projects which really needed in our society. For example, at least if we can collect all those videos, improvements of crimes of Russians, it's something which makes sense in this new reality.
I can imagine that there are other speakers who want to respond or add to this.
Yes, no?
No.
Evgenia, Boran, Ola, anything to add to that?
Well, I can add only that Victoria already mentioned what we can do for our Ukrainians in Ukraine at the moment. So to collect, and Doku Days Film Festival has already begun this collection and archiving of this video footage from crimes. And it's what we can do in this moment, and also for the people in Ukraine. Perhaps my colleagues will agree with me. We urge all those who witnessed these crimes in these terrible days and could record it on any digital device to transfer such data to this archive. You can use all our platforms. We will organize central archiving of these documents and giving it to the festival. So that's our first purpose for this year.
Maybe I'll add to this and remind about some other Ukrainian film festival called Linoleum. They created this flash mob within Ukrainian animators community about the death of Putin. And I think it's an artistic way of putting some energy in some action, especially in the cities that are now, especially of the artists from the cities that are now in the center of war. And the question is so complicated for me now, the role of the film festival right now, that I don't even good answer even for me. I think our role should be reconsidered, and we will not go back to the way it was held before, after the war, after we win. We should find some other way to talk to audience, to people. Many people will be traumatized we are traumatized, and I'm not talking as a victim of all of this, but this is just a reality, and we just understand it from psychological point of view. It's not going to happen that the war stops and we just go back to cinemas and enjoy some films. I think we will talk more and watch films less. That's my just guess. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not able to watch films right now, even though I'm in safety in Germany. It's so difficult just to concentrate my attention on some drama when you have a big drama in your own country, in your own life. So yeah, I think we need to think about it in our teams, with ourselves, and also with our community. Maybe Film Academy will unite us.
Can I tell one more thing, please? Well, our war in our country, so since 2014, and it was already always there. And we tried, of course, to speak about this in frame of our festival. Now I see that after war, when we become our territories back, we have to therapy not only the people from the Donbass, Donetsk and Luhansk region, like we have to therapy with our programs and panel discussions, also people from everywhere of Ukraine.
Boran, did you have something for that, or should we go on to the next section?
No, I agree with my colleagues. Let's just move on.
Well,
Marijke, do you want to?
Yeah, you already actually, most of you mentioned that you are using the knowledge that you acquired during COVID to handle this new and in many ways many completely different crisis. And I was wondering if you could comment on that a bit more specifically. What are the things that that continue to be helpful, and what really is different now?
Well, if I can say, it's of course it's like very interesting comparison, you know, like this lockdown time and this new time for us. I would say for me it's still very difficult, you know, to compare this, because when it was locked down, you know, like 2 years of online, we've been doing the festival 2 years, for 2 years online, and Doku Days was one of the actually first festival in Ukraine who converted to online, like in 2022, and this was really successful festival edition. But back then, you know, even though the situation was quite challenging, I remember that that was, you know, just a problem to solve, and somehow you are still in control of your life, and you can control, you know, a lot of stuff, especially in the internet. It's very easy to control things. I think it's much easier than, you know, in the real physical world. But what actually we learned from what personally I learned from this war, that you know, about this extreme fragility of the world. Once you have this experience, you know, of basically of having war in your country, you know, of like experiencing these bomb attacks, you realize that the world is so fragile. Like you never ever, you know, could imagine that, because in normal life you think there are things you have for granted. Yeah, there are things that will be still here, and there is some ground, you know, that you can use for your life. But this shows us like there is no this, you know, there is basically nothing. In one day you can lose everything, and this is very difficult to other people, because it's very personal experience. It deep in your body, and once you have it, it's quite difficult, you know, to plan anything, like plan projects, plan festivals. Like for me, lockdown times was really very soft times. I really recollect about those times with nostalgia. Those were really good times, you know. In a way, but those new times showed me that extreme fragility of things, and it in a way creates this wall between me and other people, because like people literally understand, they're very empathic, they ask what we can do, but you can like look at these people and you know that they don't know that it's just, you know, one day everything can be changed like easily. So I think for making projects, for making festivals, this is obviously a very new, complicated and challenging situation, because I can like 100% DocuDays team is a team of extreme professionals. So like what we do in 2020, it's a miracle, I would say. So we can basically do anything and create anything we want. But this situation is, I think, is much more dangerous and I know and challenging that it was in 2020, unfortunately, because we deal with something much more. Actually, we deal with things which were dangerous. You know, it all started, of course, like ages ago, but already in 2014, when war started in Ukraine, I should admit that personally, I and a lot of people, we were blind, because we were thinking that you know, it will never happen to Kyiv, because it's Kyiv. Nobody will come to Kyiv, and we were so arrogant in thinking that it just will be that normal life will be running, you know, forever. And we are not realizing about danger that Russian imperialism and Russian people actually, you know, can potentially bring to our country. So that's why, yeah, this is something I really don't know at the moment how to handle these issues, because it's like very personal thing. It's literally genocide. It's literally it's the story about how actually to raise Ukrainian people and Ukrainian nation. And when you deal with these kind of things, you just can't, you know, build a project or create a film festival to oppose that. I don't know. So yeah, that's how I personally feel about this.
Perhaps Anna, would you also like to give your take on that?
Regarding COVID, yes, COVID experience. You know, I'm totally agree with Olga Reiter, yes, from Lviv, that we will need to change something in our festivals, and I think we will talk about this with my colleagues after. And because we have all technical equipments to hold the festival online after COVID situation, we know how to do this, but I'm not sure that we could do this in this situation. Our people had a big trauma after this events after war, and we will need to change everything. So I don't think that experience of holding festivals during COVID will help us much. So that's all.
Is there perhaps anyone else of the other speakers who would like to say something about that?
Well, yes,
Sorry.
Okay.
Go on, you first.
Yeah. Thank you. So yes, online format is something what I can say it was a challenge for us, and it's something what for 21st century is something normal. Like maybe festivals of the future will be in VR space or something like this, but to compare with the war and this situation, have also as an organizer, yeah, some deprime times, some times where you have just hand down because you watch the videos or photos from Bucha or something like this, and it's just if you can do with online format everything you can because you're professional in that communication, then now it's just time also very hard to believe that it happens with your hometown, land, and that's another feeling on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Bohdan, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say that we were talking with colleagues after 24th of February, after this whole thing escalated. The war affected us more and more. We were talking about our festival experiences preparing us for this, actually, because like now we know what we have been prepared for, because working at our festivals, we have small teams and we are handling a lot of things. So we are multitasking, we are handling a lot of stress and a lot of responsibilities. And so after this started, we were not panicking. We were just working on, considering what we can do, like 1, 2, 3 things that we can do. And we are handling a lot of things at the same time. And in terms of COVID, we at Molodis, we were quite lucky to have in both years physical editions. And we did hybrid festivals both years. We had funding to build the online platform in 2020, and we had part of the program online of the films, as well as some industry events were online. And but still, because the festival was happening physically, it was our main focus on the physical events. And so for us, the online part was not very successful, and that's why we are not really excited to go back to that, and we would only do it as a last resort now. But I think we also learned with COVID more flexibility, working remotely. Like last year, I was volunteering for a few months in Portugal, and at the same time, I was programming our festival and doing other things. So, and the same concerns my colleagues. So we realized, because some of them are, a bit more old-fashioned and like to have the hands-on process. And then we just realized that we can do basically anything from anywhere. So, yeah.
Maybe another question towards audiences and the collective experience of a festival, like coming out of, well, sort of coming out of the COVID experience that we all had, right? Like cinemas are closed, the festivals go online. I think all of us felt the urge to go back of experience, right? Like to have a space where you actually talk. And I'm wondering, and I completely hear what you said before, that, people are traumatized and they might not think about a festival and not about, art and celebration. But, you know, maybe I'm an idealist or naive, but I could imagine that a festival could also be a place in the future, getting back the collective experience, like talking about something else than just the war experience through art, but also, you know, not just as a party, but as coming together again. And would that be something you also see in the future of your festivals, and maybe a specific focus of how a programming might be thought of when your festivals can happen again?
Well, I can
Maybe.
say, sorry, yeah.
Maybe you, Vika, and then
Yeah,
I want to explain myself a little bit.
Skadi, I can only say, you know, like a small secret. I have a friend in, he's now in Kiev, and he's now part of military, of city military groups. They are like volunteers, but also officially part of Ukrainian army. And he told me that in the evening they were watching, actually, like in their, let's say, office, if we can say so. That was Hotel Grand Budapest, Hotel Grand Budapest. I mean, so yeah, actually, like in reality, of course, well, people watch films in Ukraine, but you know, under this kind of strange circumstances. But I don't know. I just, you know, honestly saying, I think that I know that a lot of people are looking forward to Doku Days UA. I, you know, messages not only from my audience but from filmmakers, actually, who were, of course, you know, they really want their films to be on the screen. And I know for sure, like, as soon as the city and the country will be liberated, we'll do the festival. Even so, you know, maybe there won't be cinemas, I don't know. So we'll find the way. And I know for sure that people will come no matter what, because like Doku Days UA, it's very important, because it's not only just film festival, it's a human rights festival. So it was always a place of solidarity. It was always about human rights. It's also about huge community of activists who are close friends and close people to the festival. So I see our future, like, you know, somewhere in Kiev, you know, maybe some, you know, broken buildings and everything, but we are doing film festival, I don't know, somewhere, maybe that won't be cinema at all. But I know for sure there will be a lot of people watching our films. So I think I don't see kind of problem here. I mean, I think it's just very temporary thing, but the problem, like the main problem, is that the war situation could, you know, last much longer than unfortunately we expect it to be. So at the moment, yes, at the moment can't say so, only can say that people still watch films. It's true.
Yeah, I would like to a little bit go back to what I said before about the trauma, and you know, from what I read, from what I experience myself, war experience is a big trauma. Also, is a moment of unison with your people. Is a moment of big kindness, and many people in Ukraine and abroad are really united around the war. It's strange to say, but many people feel together. I feel more together than ever with everyone in Ukraine. Many people volunteer. So like we have so-called festival 24/7 in Ukraine. Right now, it's just not film festival. People are there together, feel safer together, just doing something, not sitting and waiting until bombs will kill you. I think right after we will get basic privilege like safety and peace, and I think my colleagues will agree, we will do our best to do whatever we can, and I'm sure we can, you know, do it sooner than we did before, just to rebuild our festival teams and create the festival and also the cinematic experience together. But what I meant before, that like we need to live through the events now and to dive into what we're experiencing now to know what to do later. You know, maybe we can plan our festivals from the scratch now. We can imagine what we will do, but we will know only after we get just basic safety, and after we will win, and after Russian aggression will be stopped.
Yeah, so that actually brings us to the many of the calls for actions that you've already expressed during this talk. You mentioned about the cultural diplomacy, the work that you do curating programs with Ukrainian films for other festivals, several initiatives that are meant to be raising funds that help people in the film industry and your teams, and also the cultural boycott. There actually are a couple of questions about that in the chat, so we should get to that in a bit. I just wanted to ask if there are other calls for actions that we haven't dealt with yet that you would like to bring across on this platform. Anyone?
I will just maybe just shortly say something. Sorry for taking for so long, but we like people are very flexible, and I think we can get used to what is going on easily. You know, we somehow my relatives who are back in Ukraine, they say like we got used to fire alarms and everything, and I think it's important not to get used to it, because war is. So you could support Ukraine by sharing trustworthy news. You could not stop sharing, you know, you could just follow everything, because it's easy to forget about it, especially when you're in safe place somewhere abroad, especially when you're far away.
Yes, thank you for that. You're absolutely right about that. That also links to one of the debates that is being raised in the chat about the case of Sergei Loznitsa, if I pronounce that right, one of the Ukrainian filmmakers that was expelled from the Ukrainian Film Academy. There are several people asking what the take of the speakers is on that issue, and also some of them asking for what are these, how can we access sources of information so that we know what the background of these cases is.
Yes, I'm also the director of Ukrainian Film Academy.
Yes.
And I already sent the message to our guests regarding Sergei Loznitsa. You know, the last reason was that his films were included into festival from Lviv to the Urals. It's the Ukrainian-Russian Films Festival. And it was the final reason, because if you will search his interviews in the internet, you will find that his repeated narratives which are very similar to the Putin's narratives about Ukraine, the country which was founded in 1991. So, and he also told that he is director also from Russia, from Ukraine, and from other countries. So he doesn't identify himself as a Ukrainian director. And we can see also it in his films. So, and this decision to take part in the festival with Russian films, with Ukraine and Russian films, was just the last point to make this decision. Maybe my colleagues can also add something, because it was a common decision of I think of our industry. We received a lot of messages, a lot of calls from my colleagues who supported and who agreed totally with the decision of Ukraine Film Academy.
Is there someone from the other speakers who would like to comment?
Is it the comment on Loznitsa or?
Yes, responding to what Anna was asking.
Well, yeah, I agree that he's Loznitsa, while he is a prominent filmmaker who has been associated with Ukraine, it's not very simple, and I think he has. In the past, he chose to be Ukrainian when it was convenient to him, and in other times he didn't. So he should not be the speaker representing the whole filmmaking and film industry of Ukraine, because also he doesn't live in Ukraine and hasn't lived for a very long time. And his reality is different. And also, yeah, he is reproducing oftentimes he's reproducing the narratives that are very convenient for Russian propaganda. So we believe that the Ukrainian filmmakers, because a lot of international film media have been addressing him as one of the most prominent filmmakers associated with Ukraine. But we believe that there are a lot of us in the Ukrainian film industry who can also talk about things and who have different opinions, and we should be addressed. And that brings me to the issue of the narratives that have been taken away from Ukrainians for a very long time, because our voices have been muted, have been silenced for a very long time by Russians, also by other Europeans. So we find that now we should be more vocal, and we should assert ourselves and our vision. And because we also find in the media that some perspectives are, reproducing the colonialist narratives of Russia, and they are not seeing Ukraine as an independent, separate entity. So we are fighting basically against that.
Thank you. That is clear. There's in the chat also another question that has to do with the cultural boycott of Russian culture. And this person says, I will just quote it, boycotting films which have received support from Russian state institutions is completely understandable. But what about Russian filmmakers who are also under fire and critical of their government? Are these examples also red listed? And the person saying, I'm very sorry, I do not have any concrete example of such filmmakers or their films, and just curious to know if there are also allies in the cultural community in Russia.
I can try comment a bit on that. Maybe I would really appreciate if my colleagues could also maybe contribute to this. This is, of course, a very challenging and uneasy topic, because yes, we faced with the fact that, of course, in the ban of Russian culture, this is a really great, important thing to have, but this is not something which is going to happen in reality quickly, and for obvious reasons. Maybe we can like these reasons or not, but we under those circumstances, what like I see our way also creatively to adapt to the situation and explaining and sharing people why it's actually so important. And for us, as already I think Bogdan mentioned, like the problem of Russian culture is not like, you know, we kind of yeah, that's it's not that we you know, don't like this culture or we don't appreciate. The problem is like with the whole mindset behind that culture, yes, because for like this is a very monumentalistic culture, which for many ages have been telling us that yes, we have Dostoevsky, we have Tolstoy, we have Zvyagintsev, and our culture is kind of primarily important. It's a great culture of Russian culture, and your Ukrainian culture basically it even doesn't exist. So that was something that was you know at like transferring, like for ages. This was a very common rhetoric during Soviet, especially during Soviet times, before Soviet times, and whatever. And like nothing changed actually in Russia nowadays. Yeah, so those messages, unfortunately, they are very deeply, you know, in the mindset of Russians. And I can only ask this question: what kind of culture is that? You know, this great Russian culture, which makes those awful cultural and humanitarian tragedy and catastrophe possible. So like for me, especially like because I'm from Russian speaking family of Ukrainians, you know, Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, that was my books, you know, like in childhood. And I was pretty much influenced by the culture, I should say. And even for me, it's now obvious, like, I don't understand this culture. I don't want this culture at all. I don't want it, you know, by any chance now. And the problem with this huge Russian culture and this huge narrative, that it's basically occupied the whole country, and it doesn't appear in one day. So like for a long period, it has been created, and those like, well, and some Russian people were contributing openly to that, of course. They were supporting, they were part of propaganda, but some Russian people, and they are also intellectual, the best people of Russia, they were contributing just, you know, just keeping silence or just letting those things happen, you know, until they can write their reviews, until they can make films. Well, they can kind of tolerate, you know, things, or they can criticize those things in the kitchen, but, you know, until they have possibility to work, they can do this, and they will not say, they will tell nothing, you know, they won't criticize anything. And I think more, it's even, you know, I don't know, worse sometimes than like open collaboration. And what we have now, we see what we have now, and now those, like, I would say Russian cultural elite, they just live in country. They just live in country, and I don't understand actually how we're going to decide this, because it looks like only Ukrainian people have now to deal with Putin, with this regime, with all these consequences, which were pretty much empowered by Russian culture. And I think it's my personal belief that it's their home task to go home now and to do their homework, because nobody will do that for them. Ukrainians won't do that for them. German people for sure won't do that for them. And if they all leave, actually, what we are going to do here, I think it's pretty much their responsibility. I understand it is scary. I understand that maybe it's impossible for some people, you know, to accept. I kind of just tolerate this because of their decisions. Because like every second we made a decision, like every second we made a choice. If we choose to keep silence, it's also a choice. If we choose to tolerate some, I don't know, awful things, it's also a choice, and we contribute on every second. And I think for many people from Russian culture elite, this is their situation now. They like systematically were contributing to keep it silence, or just ignoring the pretty much big scope of their reality. And I think now they have to meet those consequences. Otherwise, I don't understand really how we are going to proceed. That's why at the moment I don't feel any kind of sorrow for these people. I really get irritated when I see like attempts to victimize Russian people and Russian cultural elite. it's just their situation. They created that pretty much. It's not just only one Putin, you know, it's 70% of people in Russia thinking that war in Ukraine is a good thing to do. And those people were influenced by this Russian propaganda and by this pretty much Russian culture. So I think this is a very serious thing. And just, you know, saving Russians, people who are now trying to leave the country, I don't know. I see this as a big catastrophe, and I think it's their responsibility to deal with that.
Adi, you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I'm kind of holding back with a personal question, trying to weave it into something that Elena has posted. I don't know whether you want to ask that in person, Elena, because you had a follow-on question on the boycott, but I would also like to get to your earlier question about the National Center, and then later come back to the archive question that Brecht had. Do you want to do that in person, Elena?
Well, I will start with the boycott. Just trying to find out whether you are calling for boycott of films by ethnic Russians, or you're also calling for boycott of any film coming out of Russia. And I was thinking of Yakutian cinema, or Sakura's former students from Kabardino-Balkaria, such as Kantemir Balagov, because these people are also, these filmmakers, because Russia is a colonial state still, and there are people colonized, and these filmmakers represent these colonized people in Russia. So I was just wondering, what would your policy be? What the policy would you suggest in relation to these filmmakers? Thank you.
Well, we have some ideas. I mean, we were discussing a lot this inside community, obviously, because of course, like the ideal situation for us to cancel any Russian film because of the reasons I mentioned, not because, of course, it's obvious that if films are funded by Russia and state institutions, that's for sure, the films that shouldn't be included, but all other films, also like for the same reasons. But I'm sorry, I forgot. I lost myself. Anyway,
maybe I could
yeah.
maybe not help you, but explain a little bit more about the boycott of Russian culture and how I personally understand this. There are like a lot of official statements about it, and I sent the link of Ukrainian Institute, and you can read this. Why? Also, other governmental figures tell about it, but it's important to understand personally why this is going on and why I am personally for boycott any Russian film, even self-funded Russian film. And that is why, first of all, the rate of support in Russian community, according to some polls, is very high of what is going on. And I think there is a big work that needs to be done within the Russian society, and especially those people who have different point of view should feel uncomfortable situation. You know, you cannot be a good Russian here and bad Russian there and there. You just need to feel a little bit of uncomfort for yourself and speak out about this situation, even boycott of your film. So maybe some of your communities will hear about it and why it happened. Comparing to what Ukrainian people are experiencing now, I think it's nothing. It's really nothing. And this is a reason for those who, especially for those who have different opinions, whether they are abroad, whether they're in their republics, especially in some republics of Russia who are underprivileged there, they should speak out to their communities and do something about this regime, spread the truth about what's going on. And I think, about Loznitsa, the same. It was good for him to be Ukrainian. He needed state funding. He became Ukrainian, and other time he was Russian, and now he's Russian again. Russian who thinks Ukraine is just small Russia or something like this. So for me, I explain this as a temporary discomfort for those who spread culture which kills a lot of civilians and which occupies other countries, which occupied not only Ukraine, many countries, many nations. So that's it. Yeah, that's why I am for it.
Thank you, Ola, and I just thank you so much. And it just got my thought. Yes, we also had an idea, you know, to write to this independent Russian filmmakers directly, you know, and ask them like as an act of solidarity to cancel their screenings themselves. So that was also an idea in our community. I don't know at the moment if it's active or not, but this is also a really good thing to do. Because I think, as Ola said, it's the only thing actually, I think, if you're kind of good Russian, which still I don't like this, you know, word, yeah, it's the only thing you can do, because otherwise, I don't know. And we have also this is a bit a funny idea, but maybe to program a voice of Sirena before, you know, the screening of Russian films, which is also in a way to do this kind of performances to remind people that that Russia is on board with Ukraine. It's important to remember that. I don't know, just. At the moment, I mean, I don't know actually what is good and what is bad decision. I just can be, you know, on the side of my people in our community, and we are going to do whatever needed to protect them. And I think no, we can't just have, you know, this kind of dialogue with Russians, this kind of sympathy to Russians. Otherwise, we need to survive. That's a very basic thing. So at the moment, it's as it is.
If you don't mind, Bogdan, sorry. I have one suggestion for maybe Russian filmmakers to follow. You know, if you know the Russian director Vitaly Mansky, who just closed like a statement, closed his festival in Moscow. So this is also a position what other directors and filmmakers has to follow. But I don't know if we can still speak about this during the war. We can see these results and look how this going on after the war. So, but it was like for me also one very important signal, which is not it's a view of this actions there, unfortunately. But my suggestion was they can do something like this, maybe.
Well, Zhelia, just to add to the question of Vitaly Mansky, this is also a very good example, because everybody knows Vitaly Mansky for sure, and he kind of do a lot of like important things, and Ardok Fest is like extremely important festival. But also, while he was doing festival in Russia, he had somehow also to collaborate, you know, with the state in a way. And for example, we clearly know that among films screened at Ardok Fest was filmed by Alona Polunina, which, you know, basically was, you know, a film which kind of empowered the DNR Republic, you know, and it was pretty much pro-DNR Republic film. And Alona Polunina, who is now a filmmaker, who signed the list, you know, it was a list of people who signed and say like publicly that war in Ukraine is good things to do. And we have those facts, we can easily share this information. And just one very like little example that those things were happening, like even with the best people in Russia, even with such a project as Ardok Fest, because until they had to operate in Russia under those circumstances, have had somehow, you know, to have this balance, to, you know, to collaborate, to do something, you know, to be able to have this festival in Russia and whatever. So it's very tricky here, and sometimes well, when we speak about good Russians, we need also precisely to speak every concrete person, because it's very, I mean, there are a lot of things which, you know, are not obvious, like they're hidden. But when you start to doing researches, and this is very unpleasant, you know, things.
So the good thing, he closed it.
Well, I don't know.
I was going also to add a couple of things that, first of all, there's Alexander Sokurov, who is one of the most prominent Russian filmmakers, signed or made a statement just this week, after the entire world has seen the horror that was in Bucha, the town near Kyiv, on this Sunday. And now the whole world is closer to understanding why we call this a genocide. The statement Sokurov signed was saying, if this is true, after all the proofs, all the evidence, everything that was online, like there can't be any doubt, but somehow they call this in question, and they are this way reproducing still the Russian propaganda, because that's what is happening now. That's what we see in the last few days since Sunday, is thousands of Russian bots, and not just bots, you know, many people from Russia are calling this in question, or saying that this is false or staged or anything. And so my point is that even if some Russians, and including Russian filmmakers, are against the war and are opposed to anything against Ukraine, they are still a lot of the time reproducing the narratives and having the same views, the chauvinist, colonialist views of Ukraine. So yeah, that's why we call for the complete boycott. And another thing that I wanted to add was that 2 days ago I was on the phone with the director of the European Film Academy, and we were talking about the boycott and related things. And what he told me was that when they were joining the boycott, the call of the Ukrainian film industry and of the Ukrainian Film Academy, they also checked with the Russian members, of which there are, I think, 80 or something like that in the European Film Academy, and they have all agreed to the boycott. So they have all backed this statement on the boycott of Russian cinema, which says something as well, that they understand why this has to happen. Because to understand that Ukraine has been a colony of Russia for 3 centuries, and now it needs to decolonize its narratives, and we need to reappropriate what has been taken from us, and our voices need to be amplified.
Yes, can I add also regarding European Film Academy and Russian members of the Academy? They agreed, but they are still silent. They are still silent. They didn't make statements, and it is the reason to boycott Russian cinema. And also about good Russians, about opposition, we all know the name of Navalny and his position regarding Crimea, regarding Ukraine, that the Crimea is a part of Russia and it will not go back to Ukraine. So the boycott of Russia and Russian culture is the only one way to stop this war, this genocide, as Bogdan said, and not to spread this invasion into other countries, because we should all understand that if Ukraine falls, Putin and Russia will go further to other countries.
I would like to thank all of this very much for joining us and for not being silent and sharing your voices and your experiences from the different professional and personal backgrounds. These talks were really informative and yeah, great. I don't know what the right word for it is. Thanks also to Anastasia for helping us put this talk together. Thanks to all the people who were present and by being present, expressing their solidarity with you all, and of course also for the questions that they ask. Skadi, do you have any final words?
Yeah, I want to say also thank you very much to everybody here, very much to Tasja, helping in the background, organizing, bringing us all together. And just maybe to finish this up, as I hope this is not a goodbye, but let's continue the conversation.
Yes, and
Thank you.
yes, please, Anastasia, go on.
I also wanted to thank you and all the speakers, and especially about the last point about the boycott of Russian culture. I thank you a lot for this, which I also totally agree with. And also what probably is in some point of our probably next discussion or discussions or questions, I'm often thinking about what films will appear after this war, after the winnings, which films our Ukrainian viewers would like to see.
Okay, so let me thank all of you for your presence. But let me also add one thing. I am a great believer in film festivals. I love them. I love the job that you are doing as organizers, programmers, and this is really incredible. So Victoria, Evgenia, Anna, Bogdan, and Olga, I hope that we will see in Odessa, Kyiv, even Kharkiv, hopefully at some point, because we could see the damages that shelling caused. And in Lviv also as well, and in person. I hope. So thank you also Skadi and Marika for moderating the discussion. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hopefully soon, somewhere in real life.